The choice for mankind lies between freedom and happiness, and for the great bulk of mankind, happiness is better. George Orwell. Have you ever noticed how being called a good person feels like a compliment? But here's the chilling question. What if being too good, too obedient, too moral makes you dangerous? Not just to yourself, but to everyone around you? Think about school for a second. There's always that one student who never breaks a rule, never talks back, always follows the teacher's orders to the letter. On the surface, they're the good kid, the one every parent points to and says, "Why can't you be more like them?" But here's the twist. When the teacher is unfair, when the rules don't make sense, when someone else is being punished for no reason, guess who stays silent? The good one. Because speaking up would mean breaking the very rule they live by. Obedience. Now zoom out. Replace the classroom with society. Replace the teacher with leaders, governments, companies, even cultural norms. Suddenly, the good citizens, the ones who always obey, aren't protecting morality. They're protecting power. Most people think the biggest threat comes from rebels, criminals, or so-called bad people. But Orwell shows us that's only half the story. It's not the loud troublemakers who keep oppressive systems alive. It's the quiet, well-behaved majority. Think of 1984. The citizens of Oceania aren't all villains. They're ordinary people, shopkeepers, parents, neighbors. They go to work. They say the right things. They smile when they're supposed to. On the surface, they're good, but their goodness is hollow. It isn't real morality, it's submission disguised as virtue. And that's the danger Orwell warns us about. Because when being good is defined as obedience, morality is no longer about right and wrong. It's about survival, and survival makes people complicit. Let me put it this way. We often say, if I lived in a dictatorship, I'd resist. I'd never go along. But Orwell's truth is colder. He suggests that most people wouldn't resist. They'd adapt. They'd smile. They'd nod. They'd become good citizens. And in doing so, they'd become the very machinery of oppression. Orwell once wrote, "If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever." That image is terrifying. But here's the part people often miss. The boot doesn't stamp on its own. It needs a society of obedient, good people to lift it, polish it, and press it down. Let's break that down. Why would anyone help maintain something so brutal? Because in a twisted moral system, obedience feels safe. It feels righteous. To resist would mean danger. To conform means you're good. Imagine you're at work. Your boss introduces a policy that's unfair, let's say, unpaid overtime. Everyone knows it's wrong. But the first people to comply aren't the bad employees. It's the good ones. They don't argue. They don't protest. They stay late, smile politely, and reassure others. This is just how things are. That's Orwell's insight. Morality can be weaponized. Being good can be flipped into being complicit. And the scariest part? You don't even notice it happening. Orwell isn't saying goodness itself is wrong. He's saying that when goodness is redefined as obedience, it loses all meaning. You're no longer moral, you're manageable. And that is why he warns us. The most dangerous people in oppressive systems aren't the villains in uniforms. They're the neighbors who smile at you in the hallway, who tell you to keep your head down, who whisper, "Don't make trouble, be good." Being good is harmless, until it's the reason evil survives. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. On the surface, this sounds heroic. But think about what Orwell is actually saying. If truth itself becomes rebellion, then lies have become the definition of good. Let's break it down. When a society decides that goodness means repeating the approved slogans, morality stops being about what's true. It becomes about what's safe to say. And in that world, honesty is dangerous. Take a modern example. Imagine working in an office where everyone pretends the new project is a success, even though it's failing. The good employees nod, clap at meetings, and send cheerful updates. The one person who says, "This isn't working," instantly becomes the problem. Not because they're wrong, but because they refuse to lie. Now here's the twist. The people clapping aren't evil. They might even believe they're doing the right thing, keeping harmony, avoiding conflict, being good teammates. But Orwell's point is sharp. Their goodness is built on silence, not truth. Ask yourself, when was the last time you stayed quiet, not because you agreed, but because speaking out felt too risky? This is the hidden danger Orwell is pointing to. Good people can become the loudest defenders of lies simply because they've been taught that obedience equals virtue. Sometimes the kindest face in the room is the one that hides the deepest betrayal silence. Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 make 4. If that is granted, all else follows. George Orwell. This looks simple, almost too simple. But Orwell is warning us about something massive. The moment society can force you to deny the obvious, morality collapses. Let me put it plainly. If power can make you say that 2 + 2 = 5, it doesn't just control what you say, it controls what you believe is good. Think about social pressure online. Maybe a celebrity does something wrong. Everyone rushes to defend them because it's trendy or safe or the right side. You might think, but that doesn't add up. Still, you hesitate, because pointing out the obvious could get you labeled as cruel, out of touch, or even immoral. That's Orwell's nightmare, when morality is no longer tied to reality, but to conformity. And you might be wondering, why does this matter to me? I'm not living in a dystopian novel. But here's the catch. Orwell didn't write 1984 just as fiction. He wrote it as a mirror. He wanted you to ask whether your own idea of being good is grounded in truth or in obedience. What happens when goodness demands you betray what you know is real? It means morality isn't morality anymore. It's theater, a script you're forced to recite. The moment we give up truth for the comfort of being good, we stop being free. Here's the hardest truth. The danger of being good isn't abstract. It's not just a warning for dictatorships or novels. It shows up in real lives. Orwell once wrote, "The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history." Think about what that means. Entire generations can be raised to believe lies are truth. And the ones who let it happen aren't always villains. They read the good citizens, parents, neighbors, co-workers, who stay quiet, nod along, and never ask questions. The cost? Real people suffer. Real lives are broken. When we ignore injustice at work, the weakest employees pay. When we accept corruption in politics, the poorest citizens pay. When we trade truth for silence in our own families, the children pay. Being good becomes dangerous the moment it makes you blind to harm. And Orwell's warning is clear. Goodness without truth isn't goodness at all. It's complicity. So what do we do with this? 3 things. First, remember Orwell's lesson. Obedience is not morality. If you want to be good, you have to stay awake to the truth, even when it's inconvenient. Second, practice small acts of honesty, whether it's at work, with friends, or even with yourself. Saying this doesn't feel right may seem small, but it's the first act of real resistance. Third, pay attention to when your silence protects comfort instead of truth. Ask yourself, am I being good or just being safe? Because here's the thing, history doesn't just turn on tyrants. It turns on the people who choose silence. Orwell wrote, "The further a society drifts from truth, the more it will hate those who speak it." That's the price, but it's also the path. So let me leave you with a question. When the moment comes, will your goodness serve truth, or will it serve power? If this made you think, drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to know where you stand. And if you want to go deeper into these kinds of ideas, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until then, stay awake, stay honest, stay free.